Peter Parker has had it rough the past few months, moving away with his wife only to be brought back to New York. But with the return of his greatest foe, Norman Osborn, things have gotten even crazier. With the loss of his brother and daughter, Peter Parker and his wife Mary Jane must cope with their losses. Between their return to college, Norman Osborn, the Stacy family, new gangs, ninjas, and the Trapster, will they rise above it all or crack under the weight? Welcome to the Forgotten Era, where we'll answer all those questions and more.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Forgotten Era podcast. It's me, Ethan, of course. No Matthew this episode. Unfortunately, he's dealing with a lot of physical pain, but I am joined by Mr. Zach Joyner.
I have returned when they need a pinch hitter. Actually, the original plan was for me to be on with you and Matt. So
Yeah, so you were going to be here anyway.
Yeah.
But now it's just us.
Just the two of us.
Exactly.
Yes.
And of course, we're always grateful. I say we, but it's just me. I'm always grateful to have Zach.
Aw. This is so. Yeah, we'll get into it in the episode.
And the fact that I am not having to do this by myself is always quite nice.
Listen, God, doing solo episodes is the drizzling shits.
Yeah, it's quite possibly the worst thing I've ever done. So, fingers crossed I don't have to ever do one again.
You know, and like Mike Bailey, a man whom I respect greatly, he can do solo episodes and just knock it out of the park. I can't. I've got to have somebody to... Me and my buddy Brad are the exact same way. We have to have somebody to bounce off of. I don't think Brad's ever, outside of... he's never done a solo episode in 20 years.
That's pretty crazy.
Well, because, I mean, when he does the episodes by himself, he's usually interviewing somebody.
Oh, yeah, that's fair. Yeah,
So,
with me, it's like, I tried... I think I've mentioned this before. I don't know if you were in there. But, like, when I did the Christmas episode that I did on the Ben Reilly stuff, I had, like, 9 tries for the first, like, 3 minutes of it.
Oh yeah. Because the thing is if you don't script it or have, like, really solid, good bullet points, you start to meander and wonder. At least I do. I mean, I can sit there, I can talk. Don't get me wrong. You get me on a topic and I can talk about shit for a long time. But in terms of being a listening experience where it's pleasurable, that's the different story.
Yeah. I don't think either of my solo episodes are very good, but my friends tell me they are, so I appreciate them lying to me.
Yeah, maybe they're not lying.
Yeah.
I enjoyed them. I enjoyed them for what they were.
I appreciate it. I'm just glad that they were short.
Yeah.
But anyway, so we're back with Peter Parker this week, which is great because I love Peter Parker, both the book and the character, and it's there's some pretty good issues. I'm very excited to get to the next spectacular story, but we got to get through these first because I think that's next. That is next. We did amazing and we did sensational. So that's next. We are covering Peter Parker Spider-Man 82 through 84. Is there anything you wanted to mention before we get into it, or just kind of hop in? Or?
So I devoured these as a kid.
What did they taste like?
They were very minty fresh. Like when I talk about the Clone Saga, obviously, like, there's a nostalgia there for, like, Ben Reilly and all the stuff that I've talked about on CSC. But when I read these issues, like, this was when I became a fan of Peter Parker, was in this era. I love these issues. I think that at this point, John Romita was cooking And, reading these books, I put this next to his work on Lost Years, his work on even the JMS stuff. I think I prefer this.
Oh, I definitely prefer this.
And I like his JMS stuff. Don't get me wrong. I like it a lot. But, like, this era, I don't want to say it's peak. But it's damn close.
I think this is probably, this time period, like 1995 to 1999 is like my favorite era of John Romita Jr. because once the reboot starts, he starts to slim down and get towards that style that he does in the JMS stuff. But something about this is just like full on, like it's not outrageous. It's not like Rob Liefeld 90s, but it is like burly chest, muscular men, like
especially the villain in the second issue that we're covering tonight.
Yeah,
he's a meaty man, but for me, I also think, and this is what's frustrating me about the current ASM, is we keep playing the hits, right? Particularly, like, Spider-Man gets in a big-ass fight and gets his ass kicked.
yeah.
And they've got, especially with Nick Lowe, he's gone back to this well a lot. And I say that because I'm literally looking at issue 9 of Volume 7. Like, the cover, where Peter's literally at a hole in the ground.
Yeah.
What I like best with Romita Jr. is the noir, crime, dark, blocky era. And I know that I think that people didn't like that blockiness because they liked the lankiness and the thinness of, a Bagley, especially once Ultimate starts, right?
Yeah.
But I don't know, man. Give me some beef. I like a big, beefy boy when it comes to Spider-Man.
Well, especially like, I don't know, Spider-Man's pretty top heavy when drawn by Romita Jr. He's got thick thighs, but he's very like thin-ish waist, big chest. But I don't know. It's like I said, it's not like Inhuman. Like he doesn't draw people.
He looks like Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah, in a way.
Yeah.
And like there's only some characters that are over exaggerated. Like, you get your Kingpins and you get your like Jimmy Six is one that's pretty like outlandish. That's drawn by John Romita Jr. But even then, not so much because he just looks like a big fat mobster. Like I don't know. People like to complain about it, but I personally could literally never hate him, especially if I'm looking at like these books. If someone were to like, people will look at the Clone Saga work that John Romita Jr. did and say that it's shitty, and I don't know what kind of fucking drugs they're on or who their favorite artist is, but that is just, I think that's just incorrect. I don't even think there's any opinion there. It just is wrong, because if you can look at like Toddy McFarlane and this, I think they're both the same level of quality for the most part, and people will jerk off Mr. McFarlane until the sun goes down. So,
but
even though he suffers from major same face syndrome,
his Spider-Man is incredible. I will always love his Spider-Man. I think his Spider-Man's great. His humans are terrible.
and you have to be good at both.
And McFarlane never, in my opinion, on Spider-Man, because I cannot comment on anything beyond that. I think what made it work with Hulk is that you have an inhuman monster man that you can kind of play around with. I think his setting of scenes is iconic. I think he does a really good job in setting the mood and the tone for a story. But the problem is that none of his humans... There's all on a bunch of unnecessary wrinkles and lines and hash marks and stuff. And to me, comparing it to Romita here, like, I think it's in 82. The scene where we have the sort of antagonist in the story, where they're at the rally and they're hearing these racist tropes and everything like that, and or bigoted. They're not racist; they're bigoted.
Yeah.
Tropes. So we gotta kind of specify, because it's the whole thing about mutants being a minority group is that what made them different than the racism of, specifically of the 1960s, which Spider-Man references in the issue, is that mutants can be of any color at any time. They can be all among us, which is why the fear and the irrationality occurs, despite the fact that you have a bunch of superpowered beings all across the Marvel Universe that are different teams of heroes. You have the Fantastic Four, you have the Avengers, you have, you have the Champions, I think, at this point. So it's just kind of sort of absurd. But the scenes where you see her, the camera focusing on her face is so cinematic, and the detail. And he does this. He's done this a couple of times. He did this, I think, with Janine during Lost Years too. I don't know if you remember that specifically, but where it kind of zooms in on her face for dramatic effect. It really is so cinematic. I would put this amongst any and all of his work with a JMS run, and certainly of his stuff in the 80s when he's trying to be his dad.
Yeah.
So we haven't really gotten into the specific issues, so we might as well jump into that with a recap.
Yeah. Alrighty. Peter Parker Spider-Man, number 82. You've Got to Have Friends of Humanity was released on June 18th of 1997. All of these issues have the same creative team, so I'll only say it one time. Written by Howard Mackey, pencils by J.R., inks by Scott Hanna, and colors by the legendary Greg Wright. Before we get into the issue itself, I want to highlight the cover, because this, personally to me, is, when I think about Peter Parker Spider-Man and I think about this era as a whole, two covers pop into my mind. 76, because shock, and this one.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't exactly know what about this one. It just is so appealing to my eyes. The colors are great. The figures are great. Just the Spider-Man shot is great. The font is great. I don't know. Something about it is just like, comparing it amongst the other covers of this run, which are also all very good because they're, drawn by Romita Jr. minus like one of them. It's just my eyes like it. My eyes like it. So there's that.
I remember seeing this on the stands. Like, I remember going to Walden Books and I remember grabbing this. It was either Walden Books or Hastings at this point. And it's just, yeah, I mean, you definitely got, the company you can buy like the fonts from, right? This is definitely like during the post bankruptcy era, right? You have the new guide to the Marvel Universe, which was an initiative that they dropped. I did ask Brevoort about this, by the way, and it came down to costs why they stopped doing it. So, for those that don't know, if you have not, maybe you're reading a digital copy of this book and they don't have it. Inside of the covers was a gatefold. And in the gatefold, they would have like the different characters that appear in the issue. So like they have Peter Parker, like the main, on the left-hand side, they would have like the main character of the book. It's like, meet Peter Parker, once a brilliant, though meek school scientist student, orphaned as a child and reared by his doting Uncle Ben and Aunt May. At a science fair, Peter was bitten by an irradiated spider and gained the proportionate strength, speed, agility, and early warning spider sense of the arachnid. He used these powers for personal fame and fortune, but as a masked Spider-Man. But when Peter failed to stop a criminal who later killed his beloved Uncle Ben, the youth's costume identity took a far deeper significance. He realized that with great power, there must also come great responsibility. So Peter Parker became the wall-crawling nemesis of the criminal element, a young man determined to atone for the tragic death of his uncle, the amazing Spider-Man. And so it's like, hey, it's Peter Parker, Spider-Man, a true hero at heart. Spider-Man has dedicated his life to preventing injustices against the innocent. And then you have like the different characters that are listed there. And it's got Mary Jane, Jill Stacy, Paul Stacy. Jill Stacy, the most important character of all time. Jill Stacy.
Don't forget, she's sweet and attractive.
Yeah, exactly. The sweet, attractive cousin of Peter Parker's late girlfriend, Gwen Stacy. And meanwhile, you got Paul, the brilliant, arrogant cousin of Peter Parker's late girlfriend, Gwen Stacy. You will know these characters by the end of this run.
Oh, God. Peter Parker 94 is all I have to say.
Yeah, and
Peter
then you
Parker
got
94.
And then you got the antagonist of the issue, Donovan Zane, the charismatic leader of the Friends of Humanity sect, which is a mutant-hating organization that has a chapter on the Empire State University campus, attended by Peter and Mary Jane Parker. All the merit stands are like, yeah! When I said that. I don't know why freaking... the hero from freaking Heroes just came out of me. But anyway, so then they kind of give you a previously little page. It's usually on the inside of the gatefold, like on the inside, the actual back side of the cover, and they kind of give you like a little bit of a recap and everything like that. So it kind of gives you that. Yeah. So yeah, the opening scene where Peter's like got his pants off halfway, and he's trying to put his clothes on. Love this scene. Like this is my Peter Parker. This is the Peter Parker I think of when I'm sitting there thinking about like John Romita Jr. era Peter Parker with his like Richard Marx mullet.
Yeah. All right. We'll get into the recap. Real quick.
Yeah, get into the recap.
And this was the first issue of Peter Parker to feature the new guide to the Marvel Universe, by the way, just for the record. So we've done all of them now except for Spectacular, which will be next episode. All right. We open up on the definitive image of Peter Parker from this era, which also happens to be the centerpiece of our podcast logo. Peter is late for class again and has to Spidey his way to campus. Locking himself in a science office, he attempts to change into his civvies, while Paul Stacy knocks at the door demanding to come in. Turns out the office is Paul's. Typical Parker luck. Pete sneaks out the window and shows Paul up, opening the door with ease and hiding the webs he used to seal it. He asks Paul if they can reschedule their next tutoring session, but Paul aggressively says no. The female student with Paul introduces herself as Robin Vega. She's been brought in by their professor, Dr. Lanning, on the project they're working on. Pete loves that Robin's inclusion has to hurt Paul's ego and offers to buy her a coffee. Robin and Peter take a tour around campus as she explains to Pete that working with Lanning will help her get started on her preferred area of expertise, metals. The two stop to watch as a young man named Donovan Zane is leading a mutant prejudiced group, the Friends of Humanity, rally at the school. Robin gets visibly uncomfortable and leaves. Zane continues on about the unpredictability of superpowered beings, the Avengers, Captain America, the Fantastic Four, and especially Spider-Man, who has been seen on campus quite a bit recently. Zane thinks they should all be denounced and judged while holding a Spidey mannequin on fire with a noose around his neck. MJ reminds Peter they have a couples therapy appointment later that day when Peter notices someone on the stage with Zane, Paul Stacy. Paul meets with the friends later that day and gets a bigoted explanation of how Zane thinks hybrids and mutants are weeds. Just then, Zane is attacked by someone whose sister was driven to suicide because of bigotry. Somehow, the FOH beating on a dude is enough to convince Paul to join them. The anti-mutant rally at ESU has turned into an all-out riot. Peter hops into his Spidey gear and tries to stop it, but his appearance seems to only make things worse. Pete accepts that and makes his leave. Later on, Pete sees Paul heckling Robin. Paul knows who Robin is and doesn't want her kind on campus. Peter steps in and breaks them apart. Robin walks away crying, saying it's best if she just leaves. Atop the roof of the science building, Pete finds Robin standing at the edge of the building. She admits that she's a mutant and can't take the torment anymore. She activates her powers, changing herself into living metal, and she is going to take the fight to the Friends. Atop another building, Paul Stacy stands, doubting his decision to partner with Zane. Pete shows up as Spidey to speak with him. He tells Paul to leave Robin alone. Paul hates Spider-Man for what he did to his family. Mutant or not, Spider-Man is responsible for the death of his cousin and uncle. He's joined the Friends to put an end to superheroes, and especially Spider-Man. Pete tries to stop Paul from walking away to warn him, but gets an insane migraine. He loses his footing and is pushed off the building. He shoots a web line to catch himself and slams against the side of the building. He holds on for as long as he can. Meanwhile, a shadowy figure, here we go again, watches from an adjacent rooftop, plotting to have a heart-to-heart with old Spidey.
The man in the shadows.
The man in the shadows with the crazy beard and the long flowy black hair.
It's not who you think.
Exactly. It's just some random fucking dude, right? No, I really like this one. As I was writing this out and reading it again, I was thinking about how loaded this issue is with things. Like, this was a longer than usual sort of recap for me, where there was a lot of moments that I didn't want to leave out because it's all pretty important. But I like the rivalry with Peter and Paul, even though Paul can be really fucking annoying sometimes. And his stances here, I do like that he, doubts himself as he's joining this horrible fucking organization just because he really hates one guy and is like, yeah, you guys are going to beat up this random dude in front of me. That seems like a good reason to, that seems like a good group of people to join. The inclusion of Robin, it's pretty typical for this era where they just like introduce a brand new character and then they fuck them off after a couple issues or just completely forget. But I don't know. I think overall, especially because if they were trying to tie into what was happening in the greater Marvel universe, there was a lot of this going on in the X books because that's where the Friends of Humanity come from, obviously. And
so I think we should probably explain a little bit. So the Friends of Humanity are an organization that was founded in the X-Men comics. Graydon Creed, you might remember from the 90s show being like, "You're not my father! You're not my father! You're not my father!" So he is known as the alias Bad Seed. He comes from the tryst of Mystique and of Victor Creed, aka Sabretooth. So he was unaware of like his true lineage. So basically he's the one that establishes the Friends of Humanity, and then he ends up running for president. And so if you read the Clone Saga, like towards the end, like the last issue of Sabi Sima's run on Spider-Man, it's during the Lizard issue amongst the last ones, where like you see Peter swinging by and he's in Times Square and he's got Graydon Creed's anti-mutant agenda.
I believe it's 237 for those.
Yes. So he establishes the Friends of Humanity. He dies at one point.
Yeah, this is where it's taking place after he's been killed.
Yeah, so basically he dies and then he gets resurrected twice. So but yeah, this is right after he dies the first time.
And now it's up to Donovan Zane to take up the mantle of being a bigot. What a role. What shoes to follow. But yeah, no, it's a good issue. It's full of, the classic emotion.
So it does have the classic Howard Mackie, oh shit, I'm running out of pages.
Yeah.
Which is a common occurrence with Howard Mackie issues. If you've listened to CSC, me and Gerard have kind of talked about this pretty extensively. But what happens sometimes is that you talk about the density of the book, right? Yeah. And this is a very dense book. But we get to the last two pages, and it's like, oh crap, we got to put Peter in a really crappy position. So that's when the Vertigo story starts.
Morbius bite activates.
Yeah. So yeah. And how long the Morbius bite happened? What
in 77?
So he's still feeling the effects 6 months later. It's kind of crazy. But this very much feels like, if you've read the original Stan Lee run, the Crisis on Campus issue, very, very similar, except they were dealing with racism, actual racism. It's funny how reading these books back, and now I've now officially read almost every Spider-Man main continuity comic outside of miniseries, annuals, and I'm not quite done with Team Up, but I've read almost everything. So there's certain things that, history gonna repeat itself, or rhyme at least a little bit. So this very much feels like classics Spider-Man in the 90s. Right? The whole Paul thing, Paul Stacy, not Paul Watson. I always thought Paul was a dick. I never, even as a kid, I thought Paul was a dick, and I just didn't like him. Even though I didn't know what a dick was, as a euphemism, Paul was just an asshole. I knew I didn't like him. Now rereading this, I don't like him. I like him even worse. So, there's that. I don't know if we ever see Zane again, unless he reappears in the X books. I also want to know what happens to the Black Man.
Yeah, the guy that they just beat the shit out of.
There is a little bit of element of mustache twirling here in the series. The good old boy redneck in the plaid shirt. Let go of me. I got classes to go to, buddy. That would fit to me more with, I don't know, a trucker in freaking the South in New York City. But, maybe I'm wrong. Gwen just seemed, or not Gwen. Jill just seems like needless arm candy. Like, she's just there.
Yeah, she doesn't really do anything here.
She doesn't have a character trait at this point, other than she's the kind of cute cousin.
And granted, she doesn't really get much of one at all.
Yeah.
And then she disappears into the ether.
Yeah. So, it does. It's a great way to illustrate what prejudice does. It is a good issue if you are... Is it a little ham-fisted? Yes. But it's a good issue because it does bring up a lot of topics that are even culturally relevant today, right? And I think that's sort of what makes this issue kind of timeless in a lot of ways. And I think I really enjoy it because of that. The question of whether Peter's a mutant or a not mutant, right, is always an interesting one. I know this gets brought up a lot when it comes to Spider-Girl. Mayday Parker, that is. She's not a mutant. Neither is Peter. Just declarative sentence, end of story. I love the use of the colors, and the inks in here are great. Is it Al Williamson in this one?
No, it's Hannah.
It's Hannah. Yeah, the inks are great. The scene where he's protecting the young girl who's mistaken as a mutant. That bit where he's standing over her, where the suit's mostly black and you got the blue highlights. It's just it's so good.
Yeah,
the artwork is just it's what the story's good. Don't get me wrong, the story is good, but the artwork makes it even better. I mean the scene with the heartbreaking scene with Robin, whom I don't know if she ever appears again. What's Robin's last name?
Vega?
Vega. Robin Vega. I'm going to see if she appears in another issue. All right. To the Googles. But, yeah. There's not much character to her either, other than she just happens to be a mutant that happens to be on campus at that time. That happens to be smarter than Paul. Because the thing is, if Robin gets out of the way, then then Paul suddenly is going to be the fast track to be like the apprentice for the Sorcerer's Stone or whatever the fuck. So
only 2 appearances, by the way, just these 2.
Yeah, okay, yeah, that's what I thought. Yep. So, and she's never seen again.
Do you want to put a number on this one?
We doing 1 out of 10, right?
Yeah, it's out of 10. Yeah.
I would say 9.2.
Okay.
It's a really solid issue. It's not a completely perfect issue, but because pacing is a little bit of an issue, but that's always a thing with Mackie. So,
yeah, I'm pretty much right there with you. I was gonna say a 9, so I won't give it a 0.2 because I'll just stick to a solid number. But
okay. No, well, I can do solid numbers. It's not.
You don't have to do solid. You can do whatever you want. There's no rules here. You could have said hippopotamus out of 10, and I would have taken it.
Okay.
So,
Gotcha.
So, I guess we shall continue on
Yes.
to Peter Parker, number 83, Vertigo, released on July 16th of 1997 with the same creative team. Another pretty cool cover, but I'm not going to talk about it as much as I talked about the other one because it's not as interesting. All right. And so the way that I did this book has a ton of pulp fictioning going on where they're just jumping everywhere. It was kind of like, I think it was the last episode or the episode, I think it was the episode before in 81. Maybe that was the last episode. No, it was the one before because the last one was the Doc Ock story. Anyway, I think it was in 81 that also had a lot of this, and it's kind of a Howard Mackie thing too, that I don't mind when reading it, but when writing recaps, it makes it really fucking difficult for me because I like to write things like coherently. I don't want to go, this happened, and then this happened, and then this happened. But anyway, the way that I have this out is I have it segmented by character and what that character is doing. So things that I'm going to say aren't the order that they are in the book, but it is the way that I wrote it because it makes sense.
Gotcha.
Okay. MJ has made it to the couple's therapy appointment. The only issue is that she's the only one in attendance. MJ insists that Peter will come. She reminded him of the appointment, after all. Dr. Rondeau digs a bit, but MJ makes sure to highlight that Peter isn't a flake. He has an intense sense of responsibility and takes responsibility for everything. She goes on to explain that it was Uncle Ben who instilled the sense into Peter. She admits to wanting more of Peter. They're so young and trying to do many new things, but maybe they got married too young. The cracks begin to show. She loves Peter, and maybe she just thinks too much. Pete doesn't show, and MJ leaves, knowing he has a good reason. On Peter's side, the vertigo is spitting out of control. The Morbius bite has affected him more than he thought. He powers through the dizziness and makes his way to an open window. Little does Peter know, his stalker has come to meet him. Revealed to be the Shocker, he uses a concussive blast to shake Peter's hold on the building. Shocker follows him to another window and gloats about how he could easily kill Spidey in his current state. Herman's got a new gig set up that will get him out of the loser league. Next time they meet, Spidey won't be so lucky. Shocker leaves, Peter loses his grip on the building, and as he falls, he says to himself that he loves MJ. Meanwhile, Paul is once again doubting his stance with the FOH when Robin shows her new metal self to Paul. She shows off her powers and tells him that she came there to kill him, but won't stoop to his level. Outside Paul's apartment, someone with the FOH is watching. They're willing to sacrifice Paul to kill Robin. A group of mercs show up. Well, Paul is explaining his vendetta with Spider-Man to Robin. The building is set ablaze, and Robin directs Paul to help evacuate people. She takes on the mercs and brands them mutants, so that they know what it's like to have to hide who they are. She helps Paul evacuate a young girl and says that the little girl could have been a mutant, and he would have helped her escape anyway. There's more to people than what we see and think. She says her final words and leaves. Back at the Watson Parker residence, MJ asks Anna if she's heard from Peter, but she has not. MJ assumes everything is fine, and that Pete is probably hanging around somewhere. The end. So, this one is not as substantial as the last one, but and I would say the Spider-Man parts aren't nearly as interesting, but I do like the interactions between Paul and Robin, and I think that whole bit is good, especially in kind of like establishing, hey, Paul, these guys are bad, by the way, especially because they're willing to like kill you to kill her, so they're not just targeting mutants. They're willing to accept human casualties as well. But yeah, overall good. I do like I like the stuff with MJ at the therapist. I know it is that start to like the break off of the marriage. We're kind of seeing that more and more, especially as these go on longer. And there's a lot of that doubt and want for more Peter in MJ's life, but it feels real and not nearly as forced as it does later on, where they're just like, oh, everything's cool 1 second, and it's like, nah, man, we gotta kill this marriage quick. Here, it feels natural that she would have some doubts, because, I mean, she just lost a child and is enrolled in college, and Peter is nowhere to be seen, like, most of the time, and he's been bit by Morbius, and beat to shit by random people, and the chameleon thing, and, you know, there's a lot going on here. So, it makes sense to me.
It does. It's not. There's not a lot of meat to this issue because there's really three subplots, right? MJ, the therapist, Paul and Robin, and then Peter. So you're right. There's a lot of Tarantinoing where we just go back and forth. There is a cinematic, almost television quality to it. Again, another book that I devoured as a kid. I think I've read this. This one, I like these first two issues. I could probably just recite in my sleep if I saw the covers. Just based on looking at the covers, literally. Now, the next issue is going to be interesting for me to talk about, but this one, Shocker doesn't do anything though. This is the thing.
He doesn't. He's just here to establish his appearance in 3 issues from now.
Yeah, it's so weird because he just shows up, says, "I don't want to beat you up because you're struggle busting right now because I've been stalking you for the last issue or so." But like, also, when he shows up in his civilian guise, why does he look like Rob Zombie? As like or like Alan Moore in the early years. He
does look like Alan Moore.
It's so weird because like I don't know if we've ever seen Herman without his costume on.
Yeah, at this point, I don't think so.
But again, this is where I kind of smile because this is like John gets to play with his dad's toys, right?
Yeah.
Shocker's, co-creation of his dad. So me not knowing that at the time when I first read this, like reading it now, just kind of like, okay. I do like the ending. Peter and I don't have the perfect relationship, but we've always managed to hang in there. And like some of these panels for me, like with this scene with the therapist, I would present in an argument of why Peter and Mary Jane work.
Yeah.
Because here Mary Jane is talking to a stranger about their most intimate situations, right? But yet, she is profoundly protecting his secret identity.
Yeah, protecting his secret identity and also standing up for him. Because in any normal situation, the therapist is definitely like, well, your husband seems to
your
not
husband's
care
not
about you
reliable
or
douchebag.
fake or
Yeah.
And she's like, no, I promise you that isn't the case. He cares about other people way more than he cares about himself, and that's why he's not here.
Yeah.
But I don't think any words that I can say can explain just how well plotted and formatted this book is in terms of the art and the script. Because everything that's happening in the therapy session, is then, seen as Peter's struggle is going on at the same exact time. And, saying like hanging in there and stuff, and he's literally hanging from a building and et cetera, et cetera.
I love the thematic elements of this issue where you have MJ is struggling with changing her life. Peter is struggling to hang on to his life. Paul is struggling to move on with his life. And you have Robin, who is struggling to accept her life for what it is. Also, like, what a Giga Chad move to put Muty on their forehead.
Yeah, it's a great idea.
What a dick move in the best way, but B, like, those poor guys. I think that may have been a little tad extreme, but considering they were just trying to kill her, I get it.
Yeah, fuck them. They lit an entire apartment complex on fire just to kill one person. So, fuck them.
Yeah. I do like that Paul, has a heroic element. He's, a bit of a dumbass. He shouldn't be running in there, but Paul, Robin Vega running off to never be seen again goes into the ether.
Yeah. She gets added to the list of characters who just disappear and never come back. But honestly, I'm surprised because Mackie does have a tendency to like introduce a character and then they just show up in another book.
Yeah.
So since he did write some, X titles, he could have just like thrown him into some random bullshit.
I do like that Mary Jane's hair is getting a little more consistent.
Yeah.
Because for a while there, like, it was wildly different in terms of length. But one thing I always liked about, especially this era, is that he doesn't forget the dimples.
Yeah.
Like, as a defining characteristic of her. The whole bit with the Juggernaut, I remember being like, oh shit, the Juggernaut. And then later on, it's like, oh shit, it's the Juggernaut, bitch.
Yeah, we can get into it right now.
Yeah, we can get into the final issue of the night.
I'll give 83. It gets like an 8 for me.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm the same way. It gets an 8. It's a solid book. I don't know if it's as well done as the previous issue, but
the panel layout alone and the scripting is definitely like a go and fucking read the book, buy the book, please buy the book. I beg you to buy the book. Go to your local comic shop and support them and buy a book.
Yeah.
So, Peter Parker, number 84, is our final book of the night, and it isn't. I mean, like, it is technically the conclusion of this story, but it's weird. This isn't like a solid 3-issue story of like.
It's a 2.5 issue.
Yeah, it's a 2.5 issue story where it's like the first 2 issues are really there, and then the first 2 pages of 84 have to do with it. But this is the shortest recap that I have for the night. Peter Parker 84, Nothing Stops the Juggernaut, was released on August 20th of 1997. Yeah, Nothing Stops the Juggernaut again. Because that's like the only title they have for Juggernaut stories.
Yeah.
Mr. Juggernaut is strolling down the streets at nighttime, while Peter is busy laying in a web net he made to catch his fall. A crowd of kids begin to approach Spidey, with one of them being Devin Lewis, son of Shirley, owner of the Daily Grind. In a misconception, Juggernaut thinks Spidey placed the webs to trap him. He transforms into full Juggernaut mode and vows to protect some sword he has on his back that he wishes to sell to help Black Tom Cassidy, his best friend. Spidey has to kick into defense mode quickly and dodges Juggernaut's attacks, in a really cool page. The vertigo returns, of course, and Spidey is knocked off balance. Devin hops on Juggernaut's back and rips the sword off. He starts running with it, and Juggy threatens Devin. This doesn't sit well with Pete, who tries to give Jugs everything he's got. Ultimately, Juggernaut causes a massive path of destruction in a search for Devin and the sword. Pete meets up with Devin, and they agree to give the sword back and stop the destruction. Peter admires that Juggernaut just wants to save his friend, even if they're both villains. Devin returns the sword, and Jugs leaves. Peter drops Devin back off with his friends and experiences another vertigo attack. Thankfully, one of the other kids' moms is a doctor and is able to give Pete some antibiotics to help. Peter returns home to MJ and catches her up to speed. MJ says they should get to know Devin and Shirley more since they meant so much to Ben. Pete agrees, but he needs some sleep first. The end. The actual end.
Yeah, okay. So here's my thing about this issue. I've never read this issue until tonight. I knew it existed. There's only like a handful of issues that I did not read during this era, and I just missed it, I think.
Well, thank God for the Forgotten Era podcast.
Exactly. Well, I would have eventually read it. I know. Because of this podcast, I have slowed down on my read through. Because
well, now you're pretty much on every episode anyway, so you're gonna.
Yeah, I know exactly. So it's like one of those things. I just do it for the show. And so I'm like, okay, well, because once I get through to, honestly, up until the reboot, I'll have then have it. Well, there's a couple. I think there's a couple of issues I think I've read, but I don't remember. Like in the transition phase between Byrne and Jenkins, like that 6-month period's a little murky there. I think there's a few issues I've missed here and there, but for the most part, like I don't remember if I've actually read the typeface issue. I know it exists, but I don't remember if I've actually read that issue.
Mm-hmm.
So for this one, I didn't know that Devin had made another appearance until like right before I start reading it. Ethan goes, "Yeah, it's got Ben Reilly stuff." Really, you haven't read it? I'm like, "Wait, what?" So the fact that they say Ben Reilly, I mean, that would get a 10 out of 10.
Exactly. If we're going by my scale.
Yeah, exactly. You know, Ethan and my scale, especially like
Clone Saga mentioned?
Especially like Zach 20 years ago, it's a 9.9, you know, 10. Because Ben Reilly gets mentioned. But so here's the thing about the structure of this issue. There's a lot of splash pages. So we have an opening splash page, a 2-page splash, you know, very, very simple, large layouts, and partly because you're dealing with a large character, and then you have another 2-page splash. So it's very much a big issue in terms of its layouts.
Mm-hmm.
But because of that, whereas the previous 2 issues have a shit ton of subplots, there's no subplots here. It is such a straightforward issue.
Pretty much style over substance.
Yeah, and talk about play the hits, right? With Rita Jr. I mean, one of the most famous Spider-Man stories of the 80s is Nothing Can Stop the Juggernaut with Roger Stern and early John Romita Jr. So, you know, Devin was a fun character. I'm glad we resolved the Vertigo stuff, but what a can I cuss on this show?
Yeah,
What a fucking whimper of a subplot. I mean, Christ Almighty! Talk about this. This is the epitome of like the Howard Mackey. Oh shit! I need to wrap this up, and I can only do it in a page. Structure.
Yeah.
Because it's like, oh yeah, and so later that day at the Forest Hills, like, are you fucking kidding me? Like middle ear infection. That's the resolution to this. What?
Yeah, Juggernaut gets his sword and leaves. Some kid conveniently has a doctor mom that can give Peter antibiotics, and then he's done and he's fine. The end. Yeah.
I think Kevin was dissing us. There's no way he knows Spider-Man. When he shows up here, I'm gonna. It was cute.
Yeah, definitely cool, and I love when we get the Clone Saga guys in here.
Yeah, like when you get a Clone Saga reference, like it's there's always going to be grading on a scale for me, but like this is, I mean, if 5.0 is middle of the road, right? This is like a 7, maybe an 8. Like,
I mean, honestly, for the double page splash of Peter dodging the Juggernaut's attacks, it's
that's a gorgeous page.
It's fucking incredible. So
that's a page that you gotta have. You gotta have it open, and you gotta be seeing it because it just is that good. But I mean that page, yeah. I mean it's a gorgeous double page spread. I really do enjoy it. However, one double page spread does not an issue make, even though they tried doing that with 500. But it's that is a textbook way of the storytelling technique on how to make a big guy versus a little guy story just flow. Everything has a great flow. I mean, even the double page splash where it's Peter in the webbing. I mean, that's gorgeous too, right? And the glove being ripped up is a nice touch because of what happened at the end of last issue. So the continuity is good. There's good elements. There's good bones. There's just not a lot of meat to this book.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
That's the reason that the rating doesn't get as high as the other two issues. Is because for the most part, even though structurally you might have some minor tweaks and minor issues, this one is. I got 21 pages of a fight scene, essentially, and then all for it to be wrapped up.
Yeah, it's an odd conclusion to this story. It does its job, but there's
it's very much like, okay, because you're a baby, and I'm an old man at times, but it's very much like a sitcom. A family comedy where, you know, the husband and wife are going to bed, like the Bob Newhart show, where the husband and wife, you know, Bob is going to bed with his wife, and oh man, wasn't that a wacky hijinks type of day? Oh yes, dude, it was such a wacky hijinks. Yeah. You know what? I wonder what we're going to get into next week. Okay, I'm going to go to bed now. Oh, let's go to bed. Let's shut off the lights, and everybody claps, and you have the applause, and you're good to go. At that point, you know, good night, everybody.
Yeah. I can just hear the yeah, but I need to sleep first, and then laugh track as it fades to black.
Yeah, exactly. whereas the last two issues have been,
yeah, very dramatic.
Very
dramatic. The next issue. Need the next issue.
Yeah, it's like tune in to the next issue. Will Spider? You know, it's like the old Batman TV show. Yeah. Will Spider-Man how will he get out of this predicament? Same Spider time, same Spider channel.
Exactly.
So it's just, it's a very, these are really solid issues. And the thing is that I don't want to be shitting on the current stuff because, as Ethan knows, I try really hard. I wasn't actively trying to shit on stuff when I was on Crawlspace. Okay, so let me be clear on that. But because I was around people that were always actively trying to shit on things, you kind of get influenced at times. And having taken a step back, and I'm in a bit of a reflective mood because we're almost at the 5-year anniversary of the launch of Spidey Dude Experience and our YouTube channel, and we're trying to get 1,000 subscribers. So if you have not already subscribed, please go over to YouTube. But one of the things I've been trying to do is just not actively shit on the current stuff.
I'm so sick of shitting on, like, of people shitting on things. Like, I get you don't like it, but it's been forever now.
You know, it's like, okay, so I have my sketch in my office at work. I have my sketch of my half mask of John Romita Jr., right?
Mm-hmm.
People are like, did you draw that? I'm like, I wish.
Yeah.
Right? I was like, no, you know what? That's the guy that's currently drawing Amazing Spider-Man. And oh, by the way, his dad was the second person to ever start drawing Spider-Man. Well, third, technically, beyond Jack Kirby, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, I mean, like, that doesn't count.
Yeah. So, like, put some what I get irritated by. And art is subjective objectively. Okay? Neil, why are you trying to call me? I'm in the middle of a podcast. But people shitting on John Romita Jr., I'm like, the man, put some respect on the man's name. This man has contributed more art to Spider-Man than even his father. And yes, has it been varying degrees of quality? Absolutely. Does his stuff on the Avengers suck? Comparatively to the very high standard that he had already previously set for himself, 1,000%. Do I like his stuff with Klaus Janson later on in the more modern times? No, I don't. I think Scott Hanna still can bring out the best in Romita. But objectively speaking, it's still well structured in terms of artwork. Objectively speaking. And even John Romita Jr.'s bad days is still 10 times, 1,000 times better than any art that I've ever created in my life. So, yeah. I mean, you've said it. I'll echo it. The fact of the matter is, put some respect on the man's name. Go out and buy these books too, and look at these books, and you cannot tell me that the man isn't talented. Now, I'll be honest. That last page is a little weird in how it's structured. Like the faces of Peter and MJ are a little weird, but it's still a damn good freaking book. And look, nobody draws. There's very few guys that can draw Juggernaut better. I'm sorry. Give me especially in this era, big, beefy, burly fucking man. Yes, sir. Give it to me and inject it into my veins. Sorry, I went on a complete filibuster on that. I apologize.
You're fine. You're good to talk.
I'm just preaching at this point.
Yeah. No, I agree that the Juggernaut here is really, really great. Especially if you look on, I don't know exactly who is on X-Men at this point and who was drawing the X-Books, but I'm pretty sure it was like Joe Mad on Uncanny and like just kind of like weird styles going on over there that were kind of clashy with what people came to expect for X-Men. So the fact that you had JR drawing Juggernaut here.
Did you get the exact dates on these?
Yeah, I did.
Okay. So this was
August of 97. This specific book, at least.
Which is ironic because we're in August of 2025.
Yeah, I like when it lines up. We've had a couple episodes where the date has exactly lined up with the book, and it's been fun.
Yeah, it's one of those things. Part of the reason that it was kind of hard to structure the show when I was working on the development of this of a show similar to this is that because the stories are kind of separate and you've got 5 books, a quarterly and 4 monthlies, it's very kind of weird how to structure these, and I think you guys have done a really excellent job.
Yeah, I really wanted to do month by month, but it just was not going to work.
It really doesn't.
Especially with the way that these stories are. Like, they work monthly if you're reading it when it's coming out, but as a recap show, it doesn't work to just end abruptly. Like, if we did 82 only this episode and then the other books of the month, it just would not have worked. It's very reliant on continuing. It works for certain things, like when we were doing the filler months, or like the first couple where it was like the establishing month. But after that, it just wasn't going to work. So I'm glad that I've come up with a way to just make it make sense. And even if the timelines aren't exact or whatever, in some books we might get more ahead than others, it works. And I don't see anybody complaining, and that's all they care about. So I think you said 7 on this. I'm just going to rate it really quick before I forget. I'm also probably going to go with like a 7.
Yeah.
I really like how it looks. It just leaves a little bit more to be desired.
So thanks to Mike'sAmazingWorld.com, I pulled up who's on X-Men. And you got Carlos Pacheco was the artist of X-Men. For Uncanny. So, I mean, that kind of tells you a little bit. And this is 90s Carlos Pacheco, not current.
Yeah.
Speaking of, it's Uncanny X-Men. The same month that this came out was Uncanny X-Men 346, where Spider-Man shows up.
Man, the Marrow issue. Yeah.
And it is Joe Mad that is...
Okay, I really like that issue.
It's a good issue. It's a pretty solid issue.
I really enjoy that one.
Yeah, I think I ended up... Oh, I know I've ended up reading this as part of my read through. But
I read that issue like a year ago.
Yeah,
I was going through Trial of Gambit, so that's in the middle there. So I read that as part of it. It's in the trade, but yeah, that was a really fun issue. I like Joe Mad's art a lot. It's kind of like not everybody's thing, but I really enjoyed it. So I loved seeing his Spider-Man. It was so cool.
Yeah. Joe Mad's Spider-Man's pretty legit.
He drew that sick ass Marvel vs. Capcom thing too.
Yeah, especially if you're exactly. It's like Marvel vs. Capcom come to comic book life.
Yeah.
So.
He's that perfect combination of Eastern and Western. He's very manga inspired, but he's also inspired by our comics here. So
well, okay, him and Ramos are like of the same.
Oh yeah.
But the problem is that sometimes Ramos has the same problem, has the opposite problem that McFarlane has, where sometimes Ramos's anatomy gets so freaking wonky that it looks like, what if Gumby ate Spider-Man and just took on his flesh? And I love Ramos, don't misunderstand, but Deadline Ramos really is bad about that.
Yeah.
Like, really is bad about that. And I'm getting into that with the Forgotten, or not the Slot Symposium podcast, where we're getting into that era. We're starting to get closer to like Spider Island era of Slot's run. And the thing about that story that I don't know if people realize was Ramos flew out to San Diego they produced the first issue, a copy of the first issue of that story, 666, and gave it away as a prize during the Spider-Man panel. Ramos was drawing pages for the rest of the freaking story at San Diego that year. So he would be in Artist Alley working on pages for Amazing, giving them to Steve Wacker so Steve Wacker could go scan them in and submit them and take them back. While he was trying to do commissions and shit while he was at San Diego. I don't know if that man slept for 3 weeks. So when I read that story, I think of poor Ramos just chained to the freaking.
I love how Spider Island looks, so I can't even really tell. I don't know. I love Ramos.
Well,
he's cool.
It's funny with Ramos when you if you put him side by side with say his stuff with Paul Jenkins.
Oh gosh.
And then put it side by side with the stuff even the early Spencer run where he has he's not crunched for a deadline. You can tell the difference. Truly can tell the difference when you look at him. So that's my random Ramos rant. San Diego just happened, so that's what I'm.
Yeah,
that's on my brain.
I guess that
concludes
this episode.
To recap the grades, I gave 9, 8, and 7.
And I gave the exact same because I'm unoriginal. No, we just kind of have the same.
We came to the same conclusion. So
exactly.
Go find these in your $2 bin if they still have quarter bins.
Yeah.
I don't think they do at this point.
I think the only time ratings have been drastically different is during the Sandwich Land when you weren't there.
Oh,
I think that was the only time that the ratings were so drastically different. But I'm glad that for most of it,
Matt has an irrational hatred for that story, and it's funny. I wished I would have been on that episode because I would have been no, it's bonkers, but kind of in the best way. I probably would have graded it even higher than both of you.
Yeah, probably. I gave it mids all the way around. So,
see, I would have given it a 7 or an 8 for me, but that's I don't know. I loved Kazar. I love Shanna. So, another rant. Man, we should just wrap the episode up.
All right. This episode was brought to you by Random Rants and also Project Rescan. So,
thank you to Project Rescan for assisting me instead of me having to dive into my back issues.
Yeah, well, these issues, unfortunately, are not available on Marvel Unlimited, haven't been released by Marvel since 1997. So if you'd like a way to read them that isn't a 25-year-old old printer scanner version, check out Project Rescan. It's something that I mention every single episode, but it's very intertwined into this podcast, and it's partially why I did the podcast. They kind of went hand in hand. It was if I'm going to do the podcast, I need to do this. So I did it. Everything but Unlimited, I'm sorry. One day, if I can find extra copies of those fucking books, I'll do it. But that's the hard part. Without buying them on eBay. But yeah. And then we'll try to do I think at some point we'll try to do a catch-up game on Unlimited, because we could just do a really long episode on most of the issue. We could probably do 2 episodes on Unlimited. That's everything.
Yeah, so you have, by this point, when is the next Spider-Man Unlimited issue? All right, Spider-Man Unlimited. Okay, so there was 22 issues of Unlimited. So, let's see, Unlimited 14 was the last Clone Saga issue.
So 15, 16, 17 is what we would have to catch up to.
17 is
At
probably
this
the
point.
best of those books because that's the one with the Robot Master.
Yeah, I mean, it's the best, but I mean,
We're very inherently biased. We know this.
yeah.
Puma, you got Puma, and then Wages of Conquest, the Knight of
I don't fucking remember that one at all.
some medieval ass shit that was probably an inventory story. Mark Bernardo, who was like an assistant editor,
Yeah,
does have Joe J. Bennett though on that, and then Otto's Life, Death, and Life Again, which is basically the reprint.
yeah.
It's the retelling of issue 3, but like omitting some things. And then you have Lizard, the Frankenstein monster,
Yeah, the Frankenstein, and then you have
which is a two-parter, which is a
Scorpion.
rare thing. A 2-issue oversight. Well, yeah, 38 pages. So
Yeah, that's a lot of bullshit.
that's a long ass story. But that's Mike Diodato Jr. by the way, and Joe Bennett. And then Scorpion shows up, which is hilarious because he's going to show up again like 3 months later with a completely new look.
Yeah. That's how that goes.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 issues of Unlimited to cover.
Yeah, we could knock it out. It'd be fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, those haven't been scanned. Sorry, everybody. But if you want to read the main books, besides Amazing, because those are all available, I got you.
Well, the first story is 54 freaking pages, so you may have to do like 2 books a time.
Well, it's 54 pages, but how much of it fucking matters? That's the problem with Unlimited.
Well, it's
They
because
just yap.
the only reason I say this is because that issue is written by DeFalco. So you know there's going to be like competently written, but God, 54 freaking pages.
Yeah, that's why it drives me crazy. That's why it's hard to bring myself to reread a lot of those because it's just like it goes on forever.
You know, and like the Otto one, I mean, yes, it's DeFalco basically plagiarizing himself. And then there's like 4 pages of the secrets of Dr. Octopus, and then her name was Stunner. So like,
And they just tell you, hey, he's the master programmer, by the way.
finally reveals that story.
Yeah, and
Uh,
2 years later.
yeah, 3, because that was
Was that
98.
98? Shit, yeah.
Almost 98. Yeah, November 97. So yeah, so like, what a another one of those wet fart resolutions.
I love VR. Don't worry, guys. We're doing a Clone Saga episode in November, so we'll talk all about it.
What kind of Clone Saga episode?
I thought you knew about this. I don't know if I've said this on the podcast, but if not, announcement. We're gonna do a Clone Saga spectacular special thingy in November because November will mark the 30 year of the end of the first half. Because November is when Ben became Spider-Man. So we'll have everything from Power and Responsibility to Cyber War to cover. And we're just gonna like recap, like talk about our favorite stories, talk about our favorite parts, talk about things that aren't so great.
Basically,
Spider Unlimited.
It's Clone Saga Chronicles, the addendum.
Yeah, it's the TLDR version of Clone Saga Chronicles, and
it's not going to be 15 minutes long like that other podcast.
Oh gosh, and we're that's why I want to set up a voicemail box so that I can see if like any of my followers want to say anything or tell us their favorite moments. It's probably going to be a long one. I would assume it's maybe like 2 hours long.
Oh yeah, no.
But which CSC was no stranger to long episodes sometimes.
God,
so
yeah, I think our final episode was 3 hours and 10 minutes long, 15 minutes long.
It'll be one that I'm gonna have to like make sure it's on a day that I don't work to record.
Right.
But yeah, that'll be a lot of fun, and I'm very excited for it.
So yes. Do you have the voicemail line set up, though?
No, I need to do that still. I've got time.
Oh, okay. So,
or do I just have them call on yours? That'd be pretty funny. The official crossover.
I'll just freaking just like put all the MP3s together and just send it as one big ass file.
Exactly.
But yeah, so I do have a voicemail line over on the Spidey Radio Network. If you would like to leave a voicemail, if you're listening to all the shows, which I mean, we haven't formally done it, but you are certainly a cousin of the Spidey Dude Radio Network. This show.
I've got Papa Spidey Dude on my show, so it makes sense.
Yeah. I technically am a papa, so that makes sense.
Yes.
So, all right, if you have not already, find me over on the Spidey Radio Network YouTube channel. We are trying to get to our 1,000 subscribers to get to, the next phase in our evolution on the show. We have the Spidey Dude Experience, which is the flagship program of the Spidey Dude Radio Network. It covers Amazing Spider-Man and, until the series ends, Ultimate Spider-Man, written by Jonathan Hickman. We also have on the channel Make Mine Mayday, the show all about Spider-Girl and her world. We got to get together and do another episode soon on that. But yes, we also have Voices from the Eerie Gargoyles podcast. We have a few episodes of that on the channel. We have a few episodes of we have some crossover work with our other fine shows. We have an entire network of podcasts over on spidey-dude.com. We have Clone Saga Chronicles. You've heard us mention it several times on this particular episode.
I hate that one.
Yeah, it is in my opinion, the definitive Clone Saga podcast. It was the podcast that started the Spidey Dude Radio Network, even though we didn't realize it was a radio network when we started.
If you like the Clone Saga and you really love to laugh, listen to CSC.
Especially because the jokes and the recaps, and it was a group of guys that I can...
Lorenzo Lamas.
Ah, yes. Wow, hang on. I've got the... You don't tempt me with a good time. I think I've got the...
We'll play it on the special.
You're going to have... There you go. So, if you like... I don't want you to get kicked off Spotify, so I can't play for very long. But, yes, if you like Clone Sagas, it definitely covers everything pretty extensively from the beginning of the Clone Saga all the way through.
Almost too extensively.
It's probably nightmarishly extensively to this point. Speaking of nightmarishly extensive coverage of a particular thing, we also have Spectacular Radio, which is in my opinion, the definitive Spectacular Spider-Man animated series podcast, where we cover everything twice on the show. We covered it with the perspective of the fans, as well as the perspective of the behind the scenes between Greg Weisman and kind of different and various people that worked on the show, including the voice of Spider-Man himself, Josh Keaton. We also have the spiritual successor of that program called Voices from the Eerie, a Gargoyles podcast. In my opinion, the greatest Gargoyles podcast that there will ever be, because, again, Greg Weisman comes on almost every episode and talks about each and every episode in excruciatingly detailed format. They also discuss the new comic series from Dynamite Entertainment, which has finally been released from the clutches of Diamond Distributors. So now we can finally be getting our Demona miniseries that we've been deprived of, even though we all got it on Free Comic Book Day. So, yeah, we have that. We have the Sal Buscema Era podcast, which is about to wrap up, which covers the seminal run of Spectacular Spider-Man drawn by Sal Buscema, starting from the beginning in the early 1980s through up until the just before the Clone Saga. Basically, he's covering everything up until the Clone Saga begins, and then he's like, "Yeah, just if you want to hear the rest of it, listen to Clone Saga Chronicles." Mainly because he doesn't want to deal with Sienkiewicz, and I get it. So,
I mean, you can't really just cover Spectacular. You got to cover all the other bullshit.
Yeah, exactly. As he's learned in the later episodes where he's having to do Maximum Carnage and Pursuit and all that stuff, and like Shrieked and all. It's a whole thing. So, so we have a Sal Buscema Era podcast. Amazing Spider-Man Classics goes from the beginning with Spider-Man. Season 1 is some familiar voices if you listen to Clone Saga Chronicles talk about it. And then season 2 is father and son duo Jack and Javi Trujillo, who talk about Spider-Man from the beginning, from the perspective of a kid that's grown up with Spider-Man and read different Spider-Man comics, but never went back and read those original Lee Ditko stories. So it's kind of fun. And then finally, I think I've covered everything at this point.
I lost track.
Yeah, Clone Saga Chronicles.
There's a list.
Spectacular Radio, CSC, Voices. I think I've covered. Books of X. So our Patreon page. We do have a Patreon page, so if you want to support the work that we do, patreon.com/SpideyDude Network. We have exclusive content on there, including commentaries for the MTV series, commentaries upcoming for the Spider-Man Unlimited, which has been I've watched the first 2 episodes. I forgot how shitty of a show that is.
Yikes. Yeah.
It's bad. Yeah. But yeah, so we also have video versions of Voices for the Eerie. We have DVD style commentaries for the first 2 Raimi films. We've not done. We're waiting until 2027 to do number 3. Although one of the things I am going to plan on doing is getting Gerard, who has never seen Spider-Man: No Way Home. He's never seen it. He's like the one person on the fucking planet that's never seen it. I'm trying to get him to like commit to doing a commentary of that. And I'm like, you've got to watch it. You're going to freaking... of course, he'll probably be contrarian and hate it, but yeah, it's just wild to me. So yeah, and who knows? We may be launching another show. Oh, Slot Symposium on the Comic Binge YouTube channel and the Spider-Man Council on the Comic Binge YouTube channel. So check that out as well. God, I'm on a lot of shit.
Yeah.
I do a lot of stuff.
I have trouble doing this.
I was on the Vactorverse podcast earlier this year, and he's like, "When do you sleep, man?" I'm like, "Time management, man." Luckily, they're not like every day. Because if I was trying to do this shit every day, I'd die. So I always appreciate you having me on, Ethan. I appreciate the listeners. I haven't heard any of the feedback. They haven't told me to go away yet, so that's always a nice thing. So hopefully I don't give too much of you for you to edit.
No, you're fine. I really don't edit out a lot.
No, you what I used to affectionately call Douglas, aka named after Brad Douglas, who always did live to tape.
It's pretty much just like unless something really needs to be.
Yeah.
We don't really do incriminating things, and the only things that need to be removed are like long pauses. But yeah. Anyway, thank you all for listening. If you want to support me, my link's in the bullshit. Project Rescan, whatever. Buy personal accounts, whatever. It is what it is at this point. It's been going on long enough. I don't have to say it 1,000 times.
Yeah, there you go. And if you want to find me on the different socials besides YouTube, at Spidey Dude Radio on X/Twitter, at Spidey Dude Network, everywhere else. Facebook, Instagram, Threads, TikTok. Pretty much everywhere. Patreon. So, yeah, at Spidey Dude Network.
I leave you with these final words, listeners. Read the Clone Saga, or I will kill you.
Jesus Christ!
Goodbye.
That escalated quickly.